Depending on your age and which city you pick, South Korea's brand new visa for remote workers asks for either around $37,000 a year or $65,000. Same visa, same country, two completely different bars to clear. South Korea officially launched this digital nomad visa on June 30th, replacing a 2-year pilot program, and almost nobody's explained it in plain English yet. One quick note before we get into it, this is general information, not legal or tax advice, and since this program is only a few weeks old, some of the finer details may still get clarified as it settles in. Let's get into what it actually requires. Officially, it's called the F1D or Workation visa, and it replaces a pilot program South Korea ran from January 2024 through May of this year. The Ministry of Justice made the official version live on June 30th and announced it publicly about a week later. This isn't just a rename with new paperwork. The actual rules got noticeably friendlier than what people applying during the pilot had to deal with. Here's the part that actually matters most. The standard income requirement sits at twice South Korea's average national income, which works out to somewhere around $65,000 to $66,000 a year. But if you're between 18 and 34 and you're willing to live outside Seoul, Incheon, or Gyeonggi province, that bar drops all the way down to just 1 times that average, closer to $37,000. That's not a minor adjustment. That's South Korea deliberately steering younger remote workers away from the capital region and out into smaller cities and towns instead. If you're 35 or older and set on living in Seoul itself, you're stuck with the higher number, no way around it. But that age and location split tells you exactly what problem this visa is actually designed to solve. It's not just about attracting remote income, it's about where that income actually lands inside the country. This isn't a random incentive either. South Korea has been dealing with a well-documented population decline in its smaller cities and rural regions for years now, as young Koreans themselves concentrate more and more into Seoul and the surrounding metro area. Bringing in remote workers with real spending power, and specifically rewarding the ones willing to settle outside the capital, functions as a small but deliberate piece of a much bigger demographic problem the country's trying to address. Beyond income, there's a real health insurance requirement, private coverage worth roughly $75,000, covering both medical treatment and repatriation if something goes seriously wrong while you're there. You'll also need at least a year of documented experience in your current field, and you have to already be working for a company or running a business based outside Korea, not starting fresh once you arrive. The application itself isn't expensive, around $45 for US citizens, but the income documentation has to be rigorous. Immigration isn't accepting a simple bank balance screenshot here. They want real, verifiable proof tied to ongoing foreign employment or business income. Once approved, you'll need to register for an alien registration card within 90 days of arriving, and the visa itself now allows up to 3 years total, up from the 2-year cap during the pilot phase. Spouses and minor children can come along as dependents too. The actual process runs through South Korea's overseas application portal or directly through a Korean consulate, and most applicants report the review taking somewhere around 4 weeks once every document is in order. That's genuinely fast compared to some of the longer 6 to 9 month waits people deal with applying for certain European visas, worth factoring in if timing matters to your move. Here's the part that catches people off guard the most: you cannot take on any local work at all in any form. No freelancing for Korean clients, no local side gig, nothing that generates income inside the country. This visa exists strictly for people bringing in outside income, not earning it locally, and that restriction is enforced, not just a suggestion on paper. The tax side is genuinely where this visa gets interesting, and it's the part most coverage online skips over entirely. If your foreign income stays outside Korea and isn't actually brought into the country, it's exempt from Korean tax for your first 5 years of residency there. And for Americans specifically, that same income still separately qualifies for the foreign earned income exclusion back home, which shields close to $133,000 of it from US taxation as well. Stack those two together and you've got a real, meaningful tax advantage that most single-country visa breakdowns don't spell out clearly, if they mention it at all. Day to day, South Korea runs somewhere around 20 to 25% cheaper than a major US city, and the internet infrastructure is genuinely some of the fastest anywhere in the world. which matters a lot when your entire income depends on a stable connection, not just convenience. The honest catch here isn't really the money, it's the restriction. That zero local work rule means this visa only makes sense if your income is genuinely portable and tied to something entirely outside Korea. If any part of your plan involves eventually picking up local clients, teaching a class on the side, or any kind of Korean-based income at all, this isn't built for that, and immigration here isn't lenient about it. This one's clearly built for younger remote workers specifically. The incentive structure makes that obvious the moment you look at the numbers. But for someone in their 20s or early 30s who's open to living somewhere outside the capital, this might genuinely be one of the more accessible serious remote work visas in Asia right now, especially compared to programs elsewhere that ask for a flat, uniformly high number regardless of age or location. It's also worth being realistic about who this doesn't fit. If your income depends on client work that specifically requires being physically present, or if any part of your business model involves local customers rather than remote, foreign-based income, none of the flexibility in this visa changes that fundamental restriction. And if Seoul itself is non-negotiable for you, you're simply working with the higher threshold. The discount only applies to the regions the government is actually trying to grow. 3 weeks in, and this is already one of the more interesting visa launches this year. Not because of the income number itself, but because of how deliberately it's built around where the government actually wants you to live. Worth watching how the finer details settle over the next few months as more applicants go through it, and worth remembering that a program this new can still shift as real-world applications start testing its limits. We'll know a lot more once the first round of applicants starts sharing real experiences. That's when the picture usually becomes much clearer.